Hi everyone, have you ever wondered what is in my camouflage bag when I embark on one of these straight line missions? Hopefully the answer is yes. If it's not, you must be incredibly bored, and if that's the case, I'll try and make this video as entertaining as I can. But that's what this video is. It's me taking a closer look, the closest look yet, at what's in my bag in one of these straight line missions, from the tent right down to these zip ties. Right, we'll get on to the bag and the clothing later. We'll start with what's in the bag. Well, there aren't that many main items that go into the bag. There's 6 or 7 main objects that I have to pack and unpack every time I get everything out to camp. I don't like to have too many things in that bag to have to pack each time, and I don't like it to be really crammed in either, because what ends up happening is you pack it wrong and you get frustrated. I like there to be a bit of room in there, but everything initially goes into this. It's a Sea to Summit dry bag, completely waterproof dry bag, one of the ones that you roll the end up and clip it together. And that is just because when I'm walking and say if it tips down with rain, as long as everything that can't get wet is in there, it doesn't matter if the bag gets wet. And B, that will be used, although it hasn't been done too many times, to cross bodies of water, small rivers, small ponds, lakes. That can be used as a really effective flotation device, which is what me and Ben were gonna do on that reservoir if the wind wasn't 40 miles an hour in our direction. These ones are rugged. I'm sure there are other options on the market. In fact, can I just say that now? Because that probably goes for almost everything on this list. I'm not a gear buff. I'm not a gear expert. This is just what I use for those of you who are interested. So Sea to Summit dry bag, very important. What goes into it though? Well, first of all, I put my tent in. And here it is. It's the MSR Hubba Hubba, which is a weird name, right? What's all that about? Why did I buy this? I bought this just before Scotland. I bought it because it weighs 1 kilogram and it's roomy, as well as being waterproof and, you know, protects you from the elements. Again, I'm not someone who's tried out a load of tents, but I'm really happy with this. I had a Vango before that, which cost 100 quid. This one cost 400 in comparison, so it weren't cheap, but I've really noticed the difference. It's really easy to pack away as well. It's you literally just put it in and then tighten the straps, which I love that. It does take up a tad more room in my bag, but that's fine. I'd rather just have the room in my bag and be able to pack this away easily. It's not what you want to be doing, having to fold and unfold your tent to try and pack it away. You just want to get it done. So it was expensive, but I love this tent. My sleeping bag it's kind of packed away loosely in this cupboard, so I won't get it out, but it's basically from Decathlon. It was the top of the range one there, 4 class, 120 quid, and it's supposed to be -5, which, nah. I was freezing in it in -3. So it wasn't quite as warm as I thought it would be, but if it's 5 degrees, it's absolutely golden. Just get a couple of thermals on as well and you're absolutely sound. 8 out of 10. Might upgrade if I'm doing a really cold mission. This really isn't one to pay much attention to. It was, I don't know, it was 35 quid. West Hikers. It's one of those new pop-up Chinese made things. I don't know how good it is, okay? I don't know. It's done the job. It's pretty lightweight at like 350, 400 grams. It might be great. It might not be that good. I might have got conned, but wait, is it West Hikers? I think I might have picked up the wrong one. Let me put this down because I don't know what the R rating, the cold rating is on those. That's what you want. You want it to be comfortable, but you also want it to have a good warmth rating. And I'm not sure that these ones do. I've been caught out a bit with cold rising from underneath. So just look at the weight, look at the comfort, and look at the R rating. I think it's the R rating that's to do with the coldness. Most of your coldness is going to come from the floor. Might have to upgrade that too. On to one of my favourite bits of kit here, the Jetboil. Love this thing. Before I used to cook with a kind of gas burner that would be blown out by the wind with a gas canister and a mess tin. It was a lot to carry. It rattled about in your bag and it was inefficient, it was slow, and there was more washing up. With this, it's lighter, just about all in all. I can have my gas in there and a little cloth, yeah. This thing comes out, screws on underneath. That then screws onto the gas and you're away. And honestly, it's remarkable how quickly this thing boils water. I mean, if you just want a cup of tea or coffee, which I don't personally drink, it can be, by the time you've got the tea bags out and the spoon, it's boiled. It's a joke. And my strategy these days is to cook adventure food packs, the dehydrated adventure food packs, which I'll touch on in the food and drink video. But if you're using that strategy, it's so easy. It's so time saving, because time is important on these missions. You don't want to be washing up. You might not have anywhere to wash up. You might not have a stream nearby where you've camped. So with this, there's no washing up. You literally just put water in, pour the boiled water into your adventure food pack and eat. All you're left with is a bit of litter. If you want to know more about this bit of kit, there's plenty of review videos, demo videos. They'll talk about all of its functions, of which there are many. But all I can say is it's revolutionised the missions, basically. Sawyer mini filter, another bit of kit that I love and have depended on for some time now, although I haven't been using it quite as much recently, as stash has really become king and priority in the last couple of missions. So we've had so much water at each stash, or given to us by Verity, that we haven't needed to use these as much. I would always carry one with me. That's a no-brainer, a must-have bit of kit, or equivalent. The final main bit of kit worth talking about, I didn't know whether to put this in the technology section, which we'll be moving on to shortly, but it's just Petzl head torch, Petzl Actic Core headlamp. You put it on your head, it's vital. Can't think of a more vital bit of kit, really. You need it at night to see if you're putting up your tent or collecting firewood and things like that. And if you ever did end up having to move around in the dark, you can't do it without a head torch. You could fall off a cliff. So these particular ones are really powerful. Sorry. They don't run on batteries, as in AAA or AA batteries. They run on their own chargeable battery. Bloody hell. Which I charge the hell out of back at home. You know, a bit more than what you might pay for your normal bottom tier one, but I find that they just aren't powerful enough. They run out of battery more often than not. One thing I will say, I don't like having it in a pocket in the bag on the outside, even though that would be more convenient, because what happens is you press the button and it's on for ages and it runs out of battery. What I like to do is put it in my technology box, which has a bit of space and it can't be pressed down really. So that I know that it hasn't been turned on in my bag and I'm not going to be draining that battery. Right, I'll be moving on to the technology section very shortly, as well as the clothing section. But first, let's just tidy up the loose ends of what is in my bag. Okay, we have got a mini first aid kit. Is the survival blanket in there? No. I also have a really small little thin survival blanket. I used to have a slightly bigger one, but I burnt that. In the same pocket, which is on the hood, we have a kind of, it's a rope really. You could say it's a paracord. It's about 5 or so meters long. Ben has one in his as well. What's it for? I don't know really. I've used it for crossing rivers with your bag. You could lower your bag off a cliff. You could tie it around your waist and, you know, the other person hold it while they're crossing a river, towing a kayak back towards you. There's lots of things that this could be used for, some of which could save your life. So that's a great one to bring. If anything, I should have a longer one. Yeah, one of the main things that's in the bag, as well as the food bag, is the technology box, but I'll come to that later. That's just got, 2 socks, not to wear. They're for used GoPro batteries and fresh ones. There's also these bastard things. A Nokia phone to use, and a little case. I'm quite proud of this. A little case for the SD cards, right? And in there, I cut out a little square of sponge to go in there so that they're not rattling around and scratching each other and possibly breaking. So that fits very nicely in there too. And there's also a spare wind blocker for the GoPro. So that's the technology box. Another one that I'm really proud of is kept in the side of my bag, one of the side pockets on the opposite side to my aluminium water bottle. You've all seen what that looks like. And it's actually an Adidas goggle case. It's not the case itself that's important, but inside it's just a handy way to store a few things. You know, toothbrush and toothpaste, painkillers are in here, plasters, and loads of Compeed. They're all in there too. So that's a handy little, easily accessible container. Also in the top pocket, I've brought a compass on most trips. And do you know what? I think it might have been in there on the Wales 3. I know. I'm not sure, but it was in the pile of stuff that I'd taken out of that bag. So that might have been in my bag and we didn't use it. Huh. Also in that top pocket is a knife. This is just for, I don't know, general stuff. You're not really meant to carry a knife around, are you? I think that's illegal. But so I don't. I'm lying. I don't do that. But that would obviously come in useful if I did bring it for certain things. And finally, in Ben's backpack, or Greg's, because they both drink tea or coffee. I'm a weirdo. I don't. One more thing to be dependent on and addicted to. Why start? But they will carry an aluminium cup, and inside there is a sponge, a spare lighter, and some soap to wash up. Just useful little things. Finally, in that top pocket, and I can't quite remember what I did use them for now, but zip ties. God, I even put that in the intro and I can't remember what I used them for. But it was something useful, alright? It was something ingenious. Zip ties and elastic bands. Elastic bands you can wrap round stuff. Little bags of food or anything to keep it rolled up in a neat pile and not just unravel. And it weighs nothing. Finally, we take a spork and I eat out of this kind of metal, lightweight aluminium container, and Ben will have, or Greg will have something similar, such as that, to eat out of. But that's usually when we're doing the kippers and couscous in the morning. As I said earlier, the adventure food packs there's no need for a plate. You eat out of the pouch. Let's do technology now. I'm going to talk about these next 2 things in more detail in an upcoming video, which will be released in a few days' time, which is just more of a general advice video for anyone planning to do a straight line mission, which is covering all bases. But first up, it's the GoPro. Not much to say here, especially as I'll be talking more on that video, but it's a Hero 7. It's not the most up-to-date one because they're actually worse in terms of shutting down randomly. They're more temperamental apparently. So the Hero 7, it's not perfect. It will glitch out in the cold especially. It's predominantly in the cold, to be honest. It has caused me great frustration, but you've got to be level-headed and say that it does a great job. And from what I've heard, there aren't really, its competitors come close, but probably don't beat it when it comes to reliability and, you know, all-round quality and everything like that. So yeah, GoPro Hero 7 is what I use for now. To insert inside of that, I use obviously the GoPro batteries. I've got 3 that are actually GoPro, but most of them are Smartry. I don't think they're particularly great. In fact, they're definitely not as good as the GoPro's own one. And funnily enough, for the farmer chase, the intense farmer chase in Wales 3, I noticed that the battery was low, about 20% when it started. And I couldn't change it at that point. We would have got caught if I'd have changed it at any point. But it went down much slower than usual. And I was like, thank God that it didn't run out. Because can you imagine if we didn't get that on film? But when I took it out to change it, when we were on the road, I believe, I noticed it was a GoPro one, an official GoPro one. And I was like, oh, praise the Lord that it was an official GoPro one and not a Smartry one. Nothing against these. They do a job. But they're not quite as juicy as the GoPro ones. They work out at about £10, £15 each, these do. So if you want to buy 26 like I did, it comes to about 300 quid, which is a lot, but they've lasted me a while now, to be fair. And with those 3 batteries, you get the dock, the charging dock and the lead. What I would also suggest getting on the other end is something like this, you know, an Anker, you know these, I don't know what it's called, a double USB port, just so that you can charge, you know, 6 or even 9 at the same time. And always charge them at the mains, guys, because through your computer or through your car, you don't get anywhere near the same juice. GPS. This is another thing I'll be talking about in the advice video, because it's one of the main things that people ask me. What GPS do I need? What you need will be your call at the end of the day, and I'll touch on that more in the other video. But I use this. I use a GPS map 65S by Garmin, multi-band, picks up GLONASS, Galileo, and the other one. I always forget one of them. Runs off AA batteries. Make sure you have plenty of those. And look, I can't fault it. I know that thing happened in the moors, but the evidence suggests that it was a dud. Sorry, Duracell, but it was a dud pack of these. 9 quid they were. These are meant to be really good batteries. Quality guaranteed. Look, there's a chance there was a short in here if water got in, but it seems that it was the batteries. That's what it seems. Anyway, these things are usually very robust. They last for years. You can buy them secondhand on eBay. Oh, look at me. Hello. You can buy them secondhand on eBay. They don't lose much value. They're rugged. They're waterproof. They're accurate. Especially this one is even more accurate than this one, because it has another satellite constellation feeding it its whereabouts. Okay, so, but either of these are good. This one's about 300 quid. This one will be cheaper now because it's an older model. But they're rugged. You can see that one has bashed against a rock or something and it didn't break the screen at all. Didn't come close. There might be better things you can buy for more money, but I think as an all-round GPS system, you can't go wrong with this. Finally, going briefly back to the GoPro stuff. I don't organise things very well, but just so you know, I use these. Let's get that in focus. There it is, you got it. The reason it's got a 7 on it is because I bought 10 of them. Again, they're about 10 or 15 quid each online. And I number them with a little Sharpie to know which ones have been used, which ones are empty and which ones are full. Finally, 2 or 3 quid wind blocker. These are amazing. I really cocked up on the Mission Across Wales 3. This got wet and the GoPro glitched on that first day, 2 miles in, if you remember. And I associated the GoPro glitching with this wet thing. And I never put it back on. And it's only when I watched the footage back that I realised what a difference these make. The wind was deafening at times, and it's much better with these on. Much better. £2 or maybe even £1.99 on eBay. Best £2 you'll ever spend. Rodney. Right, clothing then. And I won't be getting all of the clothes out. They're too big to hold up here, and I can't get this whole mirror thing sussed out. My simple brain can't handle it. Plus they're all packed away. But let's talk you through what I wear on the missions. It's evolved slightly. I used to wear just kind of 90s British Army DPM. And again, this is something that will depend on the country. I wear camo in Britain because it helps for a few reasons. It makes you look like you're on an exercise. People, landowners and property owners and farmers are more likely to leave you alone if they see you, in the distance walking across their land. It makes them respect you more. And it also means that you can hide on the edge of their land when you have bushes and trees and ditches, wait for them to go and then cross. And that's not even including the fact that they're ripstop, waterproof ripstop clothing that you can barge through, brambles and twigs with. Sure, you might be able to get ripstop clothing that isn't camo, but it's just probably harder to get. So that's why I wear camo. But I moved to Arctis, which are a specialised company who do this sort of clothing, and it's a lot more pricey. So the jacket then is based on the exact same British Army smock combat jacket, but it's really good quality. The ripstop on it is amazing. It's not 100% waterproof, but it's close. It's got all the pocket. It's honestly, you feel like £1 million wearing the thing, and that's £140. The trousers I bought recently for the latest mission as well. They're £120. Because before that, the trousers I was wearing just aren't completely ripstop. The thorns get through. And of course, they're not really waterproof either, especially once you've washed them a couple of times. It all just goes. So Ben was kind of ripped to shreds and I wasn't. So that's a typical example of if you spend more money, the more prepared you are. The bag is just simple British Army Combat Cadet rucksack, Bergen, 60 litre. It's not the most advanced rucksack. It doesn't have all that hip support or any of that fancy padding. For what it is, it's quite comfy, and you don't want to be filling it more than 10 kilograms anyway, because that would start to hurt. I keep it camo, keep it light. The boots that I wear, which are absolutely falling apart now, I've had a couple of different pairs. I don't spend a lot of money on them because there's no point. I'd love to buy a £200 pair of, mammoths or scarpas, but they just get ruined. They fill with water instantly, often muddy water. That then has to dry inside your shoe, and the exterior of them get torn to shreds as well. They get torn apart by thorns, brambles, twigs, barbed wire fences. So what I tend to do is just buy a pair of Carrymore or high-tech boots. High-tech have done me so well, because the main thing is that they're waterproof, which they are, and they're comfy. So high-tech from Sports Direct or Millets, 50, 60, 70 quid. They don't rub me, they're comfy, they do the job. And if I have to buy a new pair after 3 missions, so be it. It's only 50 quid. The gloves, the good old gloves. The last few missions, I think all but the first one, I upgraded to thick leather, army gloves. Same category as the other stuff, the clothing. They're warm, they're pretty waterproof, they're durable. You can bust through thorns with them and you won't feel them. And that's the main thing. They are thorn proof. And they're warm. They've got padding inside. So warm, comfortable, thorn proof is the main plus sides. The main downsides, not completely waterproof. They will absorb moisture after a while. Depends how new they are, and a bit clunky, just a bit. Socks. I have recently been buying darn tough merino wool socks, which aren't cheap. They're 18 quid a pair. It might be overkill because they end up, again, getting so many gorse thorns and hay and straw and God knows what else stuck inside of them, you know, woven into their fabric. And it doesn't matter how many you pull out, you put them on and go on a walk, tie your boots up, and you'll feel a gorse thorn stabbing into you. So maybe it's overkill, me buying such expensive socks, but they have helped with blisters. They have helped with, you know, smell and heat and sweat and everything else that you'd want from a sock. It's just that they get ruined easily for me. So if you're a hiker and you just want a good pair of socks, 100%. Thermal layers. I have moved to Mountain Warehouse Merino men's long sleeve round neck. I'm just reading out the description. Top, and the same for the leggings. They're not too expensive. They're about 30 quid, 25 quid each. And yeah, merino wool. If you don't know about it, look into it. It's breathable, it's warm, it's lightweight too. They've made a big difference. I take one shirt, maybe another one as a backup, which I'll leave in a stash or with Verity. It was just, again, a merino wool thin breathable layer from Decathlon, green, why not? Yeah, again, breathable, light, warm and cooling at the same time. I then take a thin fleece layer. If it was a really cold country, I'd take a thick fleece layer, but I find once you get walking, once you're going up and down hills, it's very rare that you'll want to wear a fleece and a thermal layer and your coat. I mean, you're talking really cold conditions for that. I wear the thin fleece layer in the evening and maybe when I'm sleeping as well, if it's particularly cold at night. Also for the evening, I take one basic regatta or crag hoppers or something fairly cheap soft shell windproof jacket for those evenings when it's cold, the wind's blowing maybe. They're slightly waterproof but really not very. It's more for the warmth and the protection from the wind when you're sitting by the fire. You wouldn't wear that thing in the day because you'd be too hot, but at night when it's colder and you're sitting still, you're very grateful for it. Maybe you might want to stash it though if you're only doing one stash because it takes up room in your bag. Finally, on this last mission, me and Ben decided to bring some lightweight pool sliders. You might have seen them. And they're to cross rivers. We found they were useful so you're not treading on jagged rocks in your bare feet. But mainly, you slip them on at night when you're camping. After you've taken your steaming, smelly, disgusting socks off, which are now drying by the fire, perhaps. Your feet are breathing. You can walk around the camp spot easily. If you want to go into your tent, you can just slip them off, leave them in the porch. You can leave them out there at night because it doesn't matter if they get wet because they're waterproof. And then in the morning, when you want to get out the tent and go for a piss, maybe it's raining. The idea of putting your wet boots on again is grotesque. You just slip your sliders on again, go for a piss, Bob's your uncle. They were useful, but they did take up a little bit of room. You need to consider whether they're worth it or not, because if it's really cramped, your bag, as I said earlier, you might struggle to pack it. So yeah, but we did have room for them at the end of the day, so that was a good idea. That is all I've got written down on my list, guys. It's inevitable that I will have forgotten something. I'll try and answer your questions in the comments, although there probably will be a few on this video. I'm pretty happy with my setup at the moment. It's slowly evolved over time. It's not perfect, and I'm sure you'll all be schooling me in the comments on what's better, which might be very useful for me, to be fair, so fire away. Hope you found that interesting, guys, to see what I take on my adventures. Next up will be food. Very shortly, another video for food. I'm sure you're dying to see what else I eat apart from jelly babies and mouldy jerky. So I'll see you there. Thanks for watching and take care.